inventory management. So ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would want a good student here to really talk to us this afternoon, this early afternoon. When somebody mentions this word inventory, what comes to your mind? What is inventory? What is inventory? Can somebody talk to me this early afternoon? What is inventory? When somebody mentions this word inventory, what comes to your mind? Gay says stocks for sale, stock in and out, stock investment, stock held for purposes of sale. Great. Ladies and gentlemen, you are right. So whenever we talk of inventory, we are basically looking at, it will be quite hard, for instance, for us to predict the exact demand. Where, for example, we'll come and say that if we produce 5 goods, exactly 5 goods will be bought. It's not possible. At times we will produce these 5 goods and demand outstrips. Demand becomes higher than the 5 units you produced, and as such you'll be able to sell everything. At times in this case here, you'll produce 5 and demand is only 1 unit. Demand is only 1 unit. So in this case here, you'll be left with 4 units, which of course you have to store as your stock items. So when you talk of inventory, we are looking at, ladies and gentlemen, inventory represents the stocks. Stocks of what here? Raw materials. Stocks of raw materials. We have here finished what here? Finished goods, finished goods, finished goods, and work in progress, work in progress, and work in progress, and work in progress, work in progress. In this particular, ladies and gentlemen, in most cases are measured at the end of, measured at the end of an accounting period. End of an accounting what? An accounting period. So stocks of raw materials, finished goods, and work in progress measured at the end of an accounting period. Measured at the end of an accounting period. That camera of mine is not very sharp the way I would wish it to be sharp. I would want this to be sharp. Yes. Great. Measured at the end of the accounting what year? Our accounting period. So we are talking of 3 things. Raw materials, right? We have in this case, ladies and gentlemen, finished goods, work in progress at measured at the end of the accounting period. Ladies and gentlemen, for your level here, can somebody talk about something small regarding to this? The JIT, the JIT. Just-in-time system. Just-in-time system. No closing stocks. I like that. No opening stocks, of course. No storage cost. I like that. There are no stores, basically. Just-in-time, ladies and gentlemen, is a system that believes in what we call zero inventory. Zero inventory. It believes in zero inventory, and the model is so famous with Toyota Japan. Toyota Japan, very famous with Toyota Japan. If you go to the history, you'll be able to get information, quite a lot of information on Toyota Japan regarding to how they were able to save on their storage cost almost 100% by adopting just-in-time water systems. So, ladies and gentlemen, at just-in-time systems, we'll not be having stocks of raw materials. So we'll ask our suppliers to deliver just when we want to use their materials in our finished goods. So you'll get a situation where even some of these suppliers have been trained in our processes. So wanajua kama ni gari, kama nule anajua yakiona gari imefika ama ile ERP system. They are simply prompted and then they bring their goods when exactly they are needed. So also for the finished goods, if it's just in time, we produce, the moment we finish producing like this, a buyer is on the other side, a buyer is on the other side, a buyer is on the other side to take, because we don't believe in stocks of either raw materials, work in progress, nothing like that. Yes, fika mwisho wa mwaka atuanze kusema tuko na gari kalijengwa kanusu kanahesabiwa kama stock kat work in progress. No, everything ni perfect. And the major advantage of this, ladies and gentlemen, of just in time is a high reduction in terms of what here our storage cost. So our storage cost in this case here will really reduce to almost zero. But now the major disadvantage will be the concept of what here stock out. So you stand in this case here to disappoint very many of your customers. Not unless you're looking at perfect systems like the Toyota Japan, where you will get in this case here, for example, suppliers just existing for them because they know that that is a senior company. When you're told to supply particular components here, you know that these guys here will be able to sustain us even for a whole year. So I'll be able to set up machines as a supplier simply, my systems here simply to support Toyota Japan. But now here in Kenya, which companies can really give you that kind of a comfort zone? Where you know that I'll be with this company, RCM, for example, just delivering, photocopying papers alone, so that I'll easily know when has RCM in this case here, for example, gotten new students. We take photocopying papers there, they run past papers, they give to students. So here chances are you will really disappoint your final consumers. So there will be very high stock out costs. Very high stock out cost. So I'm repeating again, the disadvantage of this model is the disappointment fee. Of course, there are other disadvantages, but I would want you to just understand the major models. Ladies and gentlemen here, what are we supposed to understand again in terms of these stocks, ladies and gentlemen? We have what we call the simple EOQ model. The simple EOQ model. Never ever should you go looking for deriving the formula. Deriving the formula is not at this level. Deriving the formula, we normally do it in section 2. For us, we are supposed to know that EOQ, economic order quantity, let me not assume so much. EOQ stands for economic order quantity. Economic order quantity. To get economic order quantity, ladies and gentlemen, there is at least a square root somewhere. So could you kindly finish this for me? Somebody finish this for me. Give me the formula of EOQ. EOQ equals very good. So square root of 2 DCO all over what here? Holding cost. 2 DCO all over holding cost. Where D is the annual demand. D is the annual demand. CO is cost per order. And then you have got HC, which stands for holding cost. Holding cost. Great. So ladies and gentlemen, what will happen is this. Look at what will happen in your exam. This is what will happen. You'll get a situation where your examiner gives you this kind of a question. He tells you that a company's monthly usage, the monthly usage equals 200 units. Then he goes ahead and gives you the holding cost per unit per annum. Holding cost per unit per annum is 10 bob. And then he gives you cost per order. He'll give you cost per order, for example, 300 shillings 300. And then number one requirement will be the EOQ, economic order quantity. And then number two, this person will come and ask you to ascertain the total cost of EOQ, the total cost of EOQ, total cost of EOQ. Is there anybody who has already gotten an answer for this? Is there anybody who has gotten an answer for this? It's an illustration. It's an illustration. Given you monthly usage, monthly requirement. So I need to get D out of this. To get D, here, my D will be 200 times 12 because D is annual demand. D is annual demand. So could you kindly give me the final answer here? D 200 times 12 gives me what figure? 200 times 12 gives me what figure? 2400. Thank you very much. Now, once I have this 2400, then to get my EOQ, I'll come and talk of the square root of 2 DCO all over HC. The square root of 2 DCO over HC. 2 DCO over HC. 2 DCO over HC. So in this case here, we have the square root of 2 times annual demand. You're the ones who have given me the annual demand as 2400 times cost per order. This is my CO. Every time we make an order, we incur 300 shillings all over our HC, which happens to be what here? Our HC, which happens to be 10. Our HC, which happens to be 10. So could you kindly give me this answer? So you say 2 times 2400 times 300 divided by 10, divided by 10 equals whatever you get. You say square root. Patricia is confirming 379.74. There is no problem. Please write it in decimal form. No problem. There is no problem. So, ladies and gentlemen, there we are. How about the total cost of this arrangement? Total cost of acquiring this quantity. How about the total cost of acquiring that quantity? How about the total cost of acquiring that quantity? So total cost, ladies and gentlemen, we know for EOQ purposes that total cost should be equal to ordering cost plus holding cost. Ordering cost plus holding cost. Total cost equals ordering cost plus holding cost. Ordering cost plus holding cost. So, and how do we get ordering cost? To get ordering cost, we normally talk over number of orders. Number of orders multiplied by CO. Number of orders, where we take the annual demand divided by the quantity multiplied by CO. Plus our holding cost is always on the basis of our average inventory. Our holding cost is always on the basis of average inventory. 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 So, ladies and gentlemen, remember, whenever we talk over economic order quantity, if you remember, we expect our total ordering cost to be exactly equal to holding cost. At EOQ, this is just for a reminder for your information, for your knowledge, that at EOQ, ordering cost will always be equal to holding cost. Very important. Ordering cost will always be equal to holding cost. Holding cost. So let's see whether this will hold. So what is our annual demand? You had given me a figure of 2400. Divided by Q. Q, of course, in this regard, Q is economic order quantity. And the economic order quantity you gave me was 379.74. 379.74 is the economic order quantity that you guys gave me. Thank you very much. Times cost per every time we place an order. This is cost per order. Every time we place an order, we incur how much? 300. Plus the same Q. The same Q is 379.74 all over average stock. Remember, it's average stock. Times holding cost per unit, which is 10. times holding cost per unit, which is 10. So I would want you guys to do me a favor. I know you've got powerful calculators such that if you wanted to get the total at once, you can do that very easily. But I would want you to do me a favor. Please get this separately. Give me an answer, get the other one separately. Apart from slight difference brought about because of what year, rounding off errors, we expect to get what year, the same. I'm being reminded that this is supposed to be 4-7. 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 I'm being reminded that it's supposed to be 4-7, 4-7. So is there somebody who has the total cost of the first component? The first component. Caro tells me it is 897.38. So I expect also the other one to be quite close to this. I expect the other one to be very close. Apart from rounding off errors, I expect the holding cost to be close to this. Olivia tells me it is 1897.35. You can see the difference is being brought about because of what here? Our EOQ, which has decimals that we never took all of them from our calculator. Of course, you have to truncate our decimals because of rounding off errors. So then what is our total cost here, somebody? What is our total cost here, somebody? Mengich tells me 37.94. Oh, yes, it's supposed to be a decimal, that one, yes. 37.94 or 74. Thank you. Kenya shillings like that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you have been able to appreciate this, there is this small question I normally see so many students being asked here, and they are not able, or other students being asked, and so many of them do not give us the correct position. Simple things. You'll get in this case here somebody asking you to give us any 3 assumptions of EOQ. Assumptions of EOQ. Is there anybody who can remember? Just 3. There are like 7, like actually 10, but I only need 3 from you. 3. Yeah, that very good, ladies and gentlemen. That we have our EOQ formula, which is the square root of 2DCO over HC. That our costs, all costs, that is CO, HC, and the purchase cost. Remain what here? They remain constant. All costs in this case here, the CO, HC, and the purchase cost remain constant. For the model to work, they have to remain what here? For the model to work, they must remain constant. For the model to work, they must remain constant. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, again, out of this, I'll be able to see straight away that annual demand, they have to remain what here? For the model to work, they must remain constant. The gentlemen, again, out of this, I'll be able to see straight away that annual demand,